Hello! Welcome to the part where I go over some examples on your assignment. So I'm just going to do a few examples from your assignment here to kind of explain what's going on. In the previous video, we didn't talk about this idea here, this idea of a discriminant. But the idea of a discriminant is, and let's hop back over to the notes, the discriminant is this part here. It's the part that's under the square root. And if you read these words here, you would have seen that. But just like with the examples we're looking at, if the number under that square root is positive, like this, square root of 65, the square root of 441, right? The number under there is a positive number. Then you get real answers like 8 and negative 5 halves, or this thing with the square root. Those are real answers. But if the thing under there is negative, then you get imaginary answers, or imaginary results, solutions. And so, what's going on in the first part of your assignment is it wants you to find the discriminant of each quadratic and then state the number and type of solutions. So what you need to do is figure out what your A, B, and C values are, and you're going to find what B squared minus 4AC is. That's your discriminant, capital D. That's the discriminant. So let's compute that real quick for this one. B, in this case, is negative 9, minus 4 times A, which is negative 4, C, which is negative 5. And we're going to compute that. D comes out to be, this should be negative 9 squared. Yeah, I'm just going to put it in my calculator. Calculators are great. They do great things, like compute this stuff for you. Negative 4. Sorry, that should be 9. 4 times negative 9 times negative 5. All right, and I get negative 99. So you get this result, and you need to think about it. If this was under the square root, would this result in real answers or non-real answers? Well, this would result in non-real or imaginary answers because you can't do the square root of negative 99 because it's negative. So this being negative lets you know it's imaginary. And the prompt up top also asks you to state the number. The number of solutions is based on this discriminant as well. If the discriminant is anything that's not 0, then you have 2 answers. So I'm going to write I'm going to move this over because I can't a little bit. It's got 2 imaginary solutions. Since this discriminant here is non-zero, unless we know that there's 2 answers. So that's what we're looking for. Compute the discriminant, the thing under the square root. If it's positive, then you have 2 real answers. If it's negative, you have 2 imaginary answers. If it comes out to be 0, like if instead it came out to be 0, there would be just 1 answer, 1 solution. Because if you think about it, you got negative b plus or minus a square root of 0 over 2a. If you do plus or minus 0, you get the same thing. And so really you only have 1 answer, which is negative b over 2a. So yeah, that's how you can do your first section. But yeah, the rest of it from 7 onward is just quadratic equations, and you can solve those using your quadratic formula. I'm going to skip 8 and jump over to 11. First steps, you need to make sure it equals 0. So you're going to add 5, add some 5. We got 3x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 0. And now that it equals 0, we can plug it into our quadratic formula of x equals negative e plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yeah, let's dive in. So we got x equals negative b. B in this case is the term with the coefficient on x. So it's negative 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. B again is 4. Minus 4 times a. A is the coefficient on x squared. C, and C is the constant term, which is negative 7. All over 2a, and a is still 3. So those are all the numbers plugged in from our equation up here. Now I'm just going to simplify. Negative of 4 is negative 4 plus or minus the square root of something. I'll get there in a second. 2 times 3 on bottom is 6. So now I'm going to plug in all this stuff under the square root into my calculator and get that answer. So I got 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 7. Comes out to be 100. All right, convenient that. So that's the inside of the square root, and you can square root that. The square root of 100 is just 10. So plus or minus 10 over 6. So now I'm going to write out the two different answers. You got x is negative 4 plus 10 over 6, or negative 4 minus 10 over 6, which gives me x equals, here, negative 4 plus 10, oh, that's 6. Divided by 6 gives you 1. And then negative 4 minus 10 gives you negative 14, which you divide by 6, and convert to a fraction, gives you negative 7 thirds, right? This part becomes negative 14 sixths, which reduces to be negative 7 thirds. So there we go. Answer. Lovely that. So you go. Make sure it equals 0. Plug your numbers in. Let's jump to one last one. Let's jump to 15. Once again, let's have you pause, try it out, and then come back and see how well you did. All right, let's have you make sure that you made it equal 0 first. If it ain't equal 0 yet, you got to make it happen. So you add 6 to both sides, you get this. And now we're going to plug our numbers in. So we got x equals negative b in this case is 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Again, b is 2. It's the coefficient on x. Minus 4 times a. There's no number here, so the number is 1. And then c is a constant term. All over 2a. Again, a is 1 because there's no number there. And now we need to simplify it. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root over 2 times 1 is 2. This is 4 minus 24 gives you negative 20. But yeah, you could plug that in. That one just had easy numbers on it. Minus 4 times 1 times 6. Okay. Yeah. You get negative 20. And from here, you remember that if you have the square root of a negative, it turns it into an imaginary root. So you can do plus or minus I root 20 over 2. And I am okay on this assignment if you just leave it like this. But realize that you can take 20 and factor into 4 and 5 and 4 into 2 and 2 and do some factoring stuff there. But for today, let's just leave it. And so on the actual solutions, you might see the simplified form. But there we go. There's your answer. The end. Hopefully, looking at a couple of those helps you know what's going on in your assignment a little bit better if you're stuck. But yeah, quadratic formula. Good luck on the rest.